Hi, Deacon Ed McCormick here at St. John the Baptist Catholic Community, and this is part 4 in our Advent series. And today I want to focus on how the Advent readings at this point begin to point towards Jesus. You may recall that the readings from the first week of the season spoke about being watchful. We heard then in the second week about John the Baptist preparing the way. But starting in this third week, and then next week, the fourth week of Advent, the season shifts from waiting and watching and preparing with a focus on John the Baptist to now focusing on Jesus. And to illustrate this, I want to draw your attention to the first reading that we will hear this Sunday from the prophet Isaiah. You can see how much we've heard from Isaiah during the Advent season. And this Sunday we hear from his 61st chapter, and I want to show you how this reading really causes us or challenges us to expand our vision of Advent hopes, expand our vision of what Jesus' ministry is about, and to keep it real and concrete. Here's what Isaiah says. This is in chapter 61, and you may recognize this poem. Isaiah says, chapter 61, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring glad tidings to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to captives, to release the prisoners, to announce a year of favor from the Lord and a day of vindication by our God. I rejoice heartily in the Lord. In my God is the joy of my soul, for he has clothed me with the robe of salvation and wrapped me in a mantle of justice. Like a bridegroom adorned with a diadem, like a bride bedecked with her jewels. As the earth brings forth its plants and a garden makes its growth spring up, so will the Lord God make justice and praise spring up before all the nations." Now I want to draw your attention in this reading, first of all, to how it's God who's acting. It's the Spirit of the Lord that's been sent upon the prophet. And then the Lord has anointed the prophet. And then now the Lord has sent the prophet to proclaim good news. So that's the first thing. It's God who's acting here. That Isaiah is saying God is going to act. And God's going to act through his human agent who's been anointed and filled with the Spirit. Now notice what God sends the prophet to do. To bring good news, to heal, to liberate, to release, to announce a year of favor in which all debts will be canceled. And notice to whom the prophet is sent: the poor, those who are brokenhearted, those who are devastated, those who are captives, those who are imprisoned, and finally those who are in debt. And then in the next part of this poem, notice twice we hear the word justice. The Lord God has wrapped me in the mantle of justice. And then at the end, the prophet says, "So the Lord God will make justice and praise spring up before all the nations." All the nations meaning all the Gentiles. So it's a vision of universal justice, that just as plants grow up in a garden, just as the earth brings forth all kinds of plants, God's justice will grow. So it's a vision of universal justice. It's a vision of a new kind of society where the people imprisoned have been freed. Those who have been captured by their enemies will be let go. Those who have broken hearts, those hearts will be renewed. Those who are poor have good news, and those who are in debt, those debts will be canceled. It will be a Jubilee year. So you notice no mention of going to heaven. No, this is God acting through God's agent here for the desperate and destitute, the vulnerable, those that the rich and powerful and corrupt exploit and take advantage of. It's a very different view of society. So that's what the prophet Isaiah is calling us to envision this coming Sunday. Now, I hope you may have picked up how Jesus in chapter 4 of Luke's gospel reads this passage. He goes into the synagogue in Nazareth. He opens up the big scroll of the book Isaiah and comes to this passage and reads this, and then announces that today this passage has been fulfilled in your hearing. In other words, what Isaiah promised God would do one day in the future, Jesus in chapter 4 of Luke announces that God is doing through him. And so you see how the Advent season starts to point us towards Jesus and starts to shape our own understanding of how concrete Jesus' ministry is. Because Jesus comes with good news for the poor. He comes to heal broken hearts. He comes to free captives. He comes to transform all of society and bring God's justice about. See you in the next video.